Hello traders, welcome to midweek analysis videos. And I haven't done this midweek analysis video for the longest time, and it's a tradition that I'm willing to go back to because it gives us a directional bias for the next 2 days and probably even into the next week. But more importantly for the next for Thursday and Friday. And also gives us an edge, or it gives us where we are coming from. It gives us a snapshot of where we are coming from. So this week, I'm going to be focusing on the main pairs that we normally trade. That is the EURUSD and GBPUSD. And probably, if time allows, we're going to look at the DXY. Sorry, the USDJPY. DXY, naturally, we have to look at it. Yeah, all right. So starting off our midweek analysis, we have the DXY. This is the daily chart for the DXY. And as you can see, we did mention that we may see price actually reversing from this demand zone. That was the last week's video. And before we go on, let's just look at that. So this was last week's analysis. And I remember giving out this analysis on Thursday. I released that video on a Saturday, but I had recorded it on a Thursday. So this was the price action that we got. I think this was the Thursday's price action. Yeah, this was Thursday's price action, and then you can see Friday, we got that continuation move to the downside, and then on Monday, you can see price actually took that breather before continuing to the downside. That was yesterday. So what did we achieve? What we have achieved so far, as you can see, we broke below, and even though we never closed below this demand zone, the fact that we broke below it, even with this week break, tells us that there's no enough demand orders left in this block. Remember, our estimation was to see the price actually coming all the way, not to violate it, not to break it in any way. If there are enough demand orders in an order block, that should be enough to take price. Even without breaking, you shouldn't have a situation where you're breaking below that order block. If there are enough demand, or if there are enough orders, we should expect to see that reversal coming from that, from that order block. But the fact that we broke and we broke below it tells me that is a sign that that is a weak block. So now moving on to this week's analysis. This is what we have. And one thing that I had not mentioned is the fact that we have some other demand order blocks in form of the inside bars. Remember, I think last week, but one I did mention that I love to trade from these inside bars. All right, and the reason for that is because an inside bar really represents it's form of it's kind of a doji, yeah. The way you visualize a doji, or the way you understand a doji, that is the same way you should understand an inside bar, that there was a struggle between these two people, the buyers and the sellers. And just just think of it this way: price took a breather, all right? And there, at that particular moment, nobody was in control. And then you can see after that inside bar, you can see who took control of that market. It is the buyers, yeah? It is the buyers, because as you can see, price broke to the upside. So that tells me that there were injection of orders at that particular moment to take price to the upside. All right, there were injection of orders. So we have that. Also, we have another inside bar right there, and we also have another inside bar right here. But before we even go forward, let's just take a look at the weekly. And this is what we have on the weekly chart. So right now, I did mention that last week I did mention that probably we may see the market, or we may see price actually coming to mitigate these order block. And our order block is starting. Just give me a minute. Our order block. So our order block is starting right there. Okay. So that is our order block. We may see actually price coming to test out that order block. And then from there, we target what? We may see price actually targeting this buy side liquidity and also this one right there. So for those who trade ICT, we do have that fair value gap. And for those who trade SMC, we do have that order block. Okay. So if you can just refine that, that would be our defined order block. Okay. So eventually, I see a situation where prices just melt into the downside to mitigate some of these fair value gap and also that order block. So now moving on to the daily, this is what we are having. So moving on to the daily, let me just activate that on the daily. Okay. So now moving on to the daily, as you can see, we have some of these. If all of these do not work, so then we should just wait for the market to come and mitigate these weekly and also the daily demand order block. So I see a situation where we may see that price actually melt into the downside, but at the same time, for those who are trying to catch a bottom, we may actually be looking to trade from some of these demand zones. So one of the filters or one of the things that would make me have that confidence to trade from this demand zone is the fact that if we get price actually trading or and closing above this high, above this, because this is also an inside bar. If we see price actually closing above that price bar, that tells me that there are probably enough orders here to flip supply into demand. All right? Because that would be a flip. Remember, we are seeing a situation where the DXY is just melting to the downside, and really supply is very, very strong in this market. But if we see price has actually tapped into that demand zone, yeah, price has actually tapped into that demand zone, and then a situation occurs where price actually closes above where we had the last point of supply, because this is where we had the last point of supply. Because just think about it logically, price came in and then took a breather, pulled back a little. Price came in, took a break a little, and then pushed to the downside, breaking that structure to the downside. So logically, you know that there were enough supply orders to do that, to break structure to the downside. But now price has tapped into a demand zone and then flipped. You know, you are flipping the supply, you're flipping the supply, the demand is flipping that supply. That tells me that that is a strong zone, and that is a strong zone that we can confidently trade from. Okay, so that is my analysis. So that is my, if I'm trying to catch a bottom, if I'm trying to catch that reversal, then at least I should see a situation where price actually breaks above that. If we break above that, then I'm confident to trade or that reversal. But for now, I'm just looking at a situation where we may or may not see a meltdown to the downside to take out some of these or to mitigate some of these fair value gaps. This fair value gap, this weekly fair value gap that we do have right around this region, or even these demand order block. So that is the DXY on the daily time frame. So let's just move on to the 1 hour. Nowadays, I'm not looking at the 4 hours. So yeah, so as you can see, uh, yeah. So as you can see, this is the 1 hour, and the 1 hour has been quite bearish. we are sorry, we are following the internal of the 1 hour because this is where price broke the swing structure to the downside. And ever since we broke that trend to the downside, we have not gotten any pullback into some meaningful area. We have not mitigated the 1 hour range. So if we even look at the DXY on the 4 hours, and I'm just gonna use my analysis. You can see nothing much has changed. Nothing much has changed. We can just go ahead and use the 1 hour analysis. So using the 1 hour analysis, what do we have? As you can see, prices we are following the internal of the 1 hour, the internal structure of the 1 hour. So what do we have? As you can see, price broke structure to the downside. All we are just waiting for is for price to come into an area of value, into a supply area, and then look for those continuation moves to the downside. This is the internal targeted low. You can just zoom into that. So that is the internal targeted low, and this is the internal protected high. One thing that you should note is that where we do have this internal high, it is the high that I told you on the daily. That is what will give me confidence that probably there were enough orders at this daily order block. If we see a situation where price just rises and goes and breaks this internal protected high, that should give me enough confidence to trade bullish or to look for bullish setups. But right now, as long as the trend to the downside has been maintained, as long as this trend, this 1 hourly trend to the downside has been maintained, that tells me that probably it's not yet time to start looking for bullish setups. Okay, so we are following this internal trend, and as you can see, we broke structure to the downside. We broke structure to the downside. All we are just waiting for is for price to come back into an area of value. And once we tap into that area of value, in being in the form of a weekly supply area, once we tap into that, then we can just look for continuation moves to the downside. And as you can see, even the CPI kind of is respecting some of these zones because this is the CPI candles. If Yeah, this is the CPI candle. And as you can see, really we are respecting that zone. So from here, you can just start looking for those for your entry entry models. Okay, you can just go to the 15 minutes. So from here, we can just start looking for those entry models. But I don't trade the DXY. It's just a good filter, or it's just a good yeah, let me just call it a filter for the USD pairs. So that is what we have on the DXY. That is what we have on the DXY. Let me just show you something on the days. Um, Remember what I was saying? This is the high that I'm looking. If price can actually break above that high, if we see a situation where price actually breaks above that internal protected high of the 1 hour, then I'll know for a fact that there were enough orders to flip. There are enough orders to flip the supply that caused that break of structure, which is this is the decisional supply zone, and this would be the extreme supply zone. Okay, there are enough orders to flip supply into demand. So, but for now, you're just looking for continuation moves to the downside until we are proven otherwise. So let's just look at Euro USD. Just look at Euro USD. Euro USD. Yeah, so this is the daily. So this is the daily chart for Euro USD. And just like the DXY, this is where it broke structure to the upside. And really, let me just be blunt and say there are times where trading becomes really, really, really boring. Okay, there are times where trading becomes really boring because you're just looking at the same setup each and every week in, week out. You're just looking at the same setup. You're just looking at the same thing. You're just looking at the same patterns. So it can get a bit boring. All right, it can get a bit boring. So as I was saying, just like the DXY, this was a situation where we were quite bearish because this is where we broke structure to the downside. We were quite bearish, and our expectation was for the market to pull back into an area of value. Once we pull back into that area of value, then you can see a situation where we continue selling. But the opposite happened. We broke structure, and then immediately, not immediately, but after that, we saw price actually breaking structure to the upside. Okay, so that is a fact. Price has broken structure to the upside. So right now we are no longer looking for bearish moves. We are now looking for bullish moves. But from where? That is where we now start to identify, or that is where we now start looking for demand zones. So we have this demand zone, and the true demand zone would be that. So this is that is the demand zone that we should be looking to buy from. Uh, Only that we refine it to that. So that becomes our refined demand zone. So you may see a situation where the market just drops into that demand zone, and then look for the continuation moves to the upside. So looking at where price is, I was also expecting to see some form of a reaction from this supply zone. But as you can see, price just came in and actually broke to the upside. So just like I mentioned with the DXY, if we see a situation where the supply order block was not able to stop price, or was not able to stop price and give us those reversal moves to the downside, then it just means that there were not enough orders. There were not enough orders to counteract the demand, the heavy momentum coming into the market. So in that regard, that tells me that that was a weak zone. So then we can graduate that to some of these inside bars like we have there. Okay. So that is a good zone that we can now start to frame our sell ideas from. If that doesn't work, then we have some of these supply zones right there. Okay, so that is the DOB. That is the daily order block. And then if that doesn't work, of course we do have some of these sell to buy wicks. Sorry, buy to sell wicks. So we may look for also an opportunity to sell from some of those supply zones. But for now, we are looking at these supply zone to hold. We may get and actually, if you just look at it from a logical point of view, you can see this is where the market actually, or price actually, gained that momentum to the downside. So naturally, that would also mean that we may get such a reaction from that. It's not how do I put it? It's not a must that we get that, but it is a good sign. Yeah, it is a good sign that we may see such a reaction from that order block. Okay, so right now I'm just looking at it. I'm having my eyes wide fixed on that on that supply order block. Moving on to the 1 hour. Let's just activate that on the 1 hour. Let's just activate that. So this is what we are having. So now the 1 hour, I'm trading the 1 hour internal structures, just like the DXY. Okay. So the internal structure has maintained its bullishness. So this is where it broke structure to the upside. So I'm just waiting for the market to pull back into an area of value. Once we pull back into that area of value, then we can look for the continuation moves to the upside. But it is also important to notice where we are coming from. We are coming from a daily demand supply order block. So it would not be surprising to see actually the market violating all of these structures. So this is the strong low. That is the strong low that will it should hold if we are to maintain that bullishness, or if the market is to maintain that bullish pressure to the upside. So that internal protected low should be protected. But if we see a situation where the market actually just melts to the downside, then that should give or that should be the first sign that probably the swing structure the swing structure pullback has already begun. Because remember what I tell you. Um, just did that. What I told you is that just imagine this to be the swing structure. Okay, imagine that to be the swing structure. Um, sorry, imagine this to be the swing structure. And we've broken to the upside. We need to mitigate that. So this becomes our swing low, and this becomes our and that becomes our swing high. Okay, so this is our swing low, and this is where we broke the structure on the 1 hour. So that is it. This blue line that you can see, this is where we broke structure on the 1 hour. So that is the swing structure. We broke structure to the upside. So right now we are just waiting for price to come into an area of value, and this is the daily order block. That is the area of value. Once we tap into that area of value, like the daily order block right there, so from there we can expect to see the market actually initiating that pullback. So how do we trade that? Remember, we are also following the internal. So the internal structure is kind of like the precursor. It's kind of like one of the first sign uh, that tells us that the swing pullback has already begun. So if this is the internal structure, if we break, because you see, we've already broken the internal structure to the upside. So now if we break the internal structure to the downside, that tells us or that gives us, or that is a strong sign that the swing pullback has already begun. All right. I don't know whether that makes sense, but this is it. So this is where we've broken the internal structure to the upside. If now then price comes and breaks the internal protected low, and this demand zone, or sorry, this supply zone holds, then that is a good sign that probably the internal, sorry, the swing pullback has already begun, and then we can just start looking for those continuation, or the retracement moves, or the continuation sell moves to the downside, and then from native value, the daily, like I just mentioned on the daily, you can just wait for this to happen. So basically what we are trying to look for is these moves to the downside. If this demand zone is to hold, then this is what we are looking for. Okay, these moves to the downside, and that is the 1 hour. The 1 hour, if we get the market to break below this, then that move that I just showed you on the daily, we can be confident in selling this market all the way to the downside, and then look for continuation moves to the upside. Yeah, so that is it. And the one thing that I can do, that I can mention, is also the fact that you can see the CPI never broke above that supply zone. Remember, the CPI is just an injection of volume. So as you can see, it's just respecting that, and that is a good sign that we may see or we may get price actually holding. All right, that would be a protected supply zone. So from there, yeah, so let's just wait and see. But in the meantime, one thing that I do want to mention that in the meantime, we can just continue trading what we are seeing, not what we are thinking. And what we are seeing at the moment is the fact that everything is bullish. The 1 hour swing structure is bullish, 1 hour internal structure is bullish, the daily swing structure is also bullish. So what does that mean? You should never try to trade against the trend, and the trend is quite bullish. So what we're just waiting for is for the market to pull back into an area of value. Once we do pull back into that area of value, and this order block or this extreme order block. So once we pull into that area of value, then we can continue looking for the continuation moves to the upside. Until we are proven otherwise, that should always be the case. Until we are proven otherwise, that should always be the case. Let us look at the GBPUSD. GBPUSD, this is what we are having, and I do want to mention that it was in that CPI trade. Yeah, and it was a good 4.75 area. This was it. I can just show you. Yeah, so 4.75 area. That is where I got in, and then the CPI gave me that nice nice trade to the upside. So what are we having on the GBPUSD? Let's just start with the daily, and this is what we are having on the daily time frame. And as you can see, even if the market or even if price just breaks above our supply zone, it's just a micro peep, you should disregard that supply zone. And then we have these fresh or the extreme supply zone to work with. So now the DXY is quite bullish. The swing structure is quite bullish. This is where it broke structure to the upside. I think this was it. I'm not wrong. Yeah, that is where we broke structure to the upside. And then we pulled back. Just go and watch my previous and weekly analysis video, and then you'll understand how we got here. So the internal, we are following the daily internal structure of the DXY. And so far, this is what we are having. We broke structure to the upside. I was expecting that pull back from here, but as you can see, we got that injection of bullish momentum, and this is where we are. So the market has tapped into this nice daily supply zone. Of course, I was also expecting to see a reaction from some of these supply zone because this would be the unmitigated supply zone. But as you can see, price came and blasted or above it. Yeah. So right now we do have these extreme. Also, you're just waiting to see the reaction that we get from these supply zone. Remember, this is just an extended move to the upside. At some point, we do expect to get that retracement. One thing that you need to understand is that price moves in waves. Okay, price moves in waves, and this is just an impulsive move. This is just an impulsive leg to the upside, an impulsive move to the upside. Of course, naturally, what you should expect is a move to mitigate these demand range. Once you mitigate that demand range, then you can continue looking for those moves to the upside. All right. So right now, you're just waiting for price to come into an area of value. This may be it. This may be it. We never know where that reversal may kick in from. All we can just do is speculate. And this is a good zone that I'm looking at. I have my I have my eyes wide fixed on this zone, okay? So from here, we can expect our expectation. We can expect that we may get that reverse of kicking in from this supply zone. Moving on to the 1 hour. Moving on to the 1 hour. Of course, again, we should trade what we see, not what we think. And at the moment, what we are seeing is that the internal of the 1 hour, also the swing structure of the 1 hour is quite bullish. This is where we last broke structure to the upside. And so far we've maintained that bullishness. So this is the last piece of structure that we should be working with, and that is the internal structure of the 1 hour. So the internal structure, what can we see? Is that we broke structure to the upside. Now what we should be expecting is a move back into an area of value. I was honestly expecting a situation where we may see price actually coming all the way to this extreme demand zone. And then from this extreme demand zone, you can buy from there. But what did we get? So once we broke structure to the upside, the market actually came into the 50% of this range. And that is enough for me. That is, if the market has pulled back at least to the 50%, because I was using this swing high, and this swing low. Okay, if we can just measure that, you will see that the market has actually slapped the 50% zone. All right, we can just zoom in. So this is the 50% zone, or the 50% of that range, and the market has actually, tapped into it. So now from there, all I was just waiting for is for a good change of character to the upside. And once I got that change of character to the upside, it was a buy signal for me, right? And that is why I placed that buy order. And as you can see, it fulfilled it very nicely. So now at the moment, okay, so let's continue. What was I? So yeah, I did mention that I got that change of character. Once I got that change of character, that was a signal for me to continue buying. Okay. So it's not a must that we see the market actually coming to the extreme demand zone. Sometimes we may get remember also this STB, this is a sell to buy week. That is also an order block, or that is also a zone. Let me just hide that. So this is also a zone now where we may see price actually reacting from. Okay, that is also a very, very nice zone. If you can just go to the 15 minutes, you will see that we do have an order block on the 15 minutes that we can trade from. Okay, so that is the 15 minutes order block. As you can see, yeah, so that actually is a good zone that you can buy from. So now from here, if you if you want to get into this trade, you can also continue buying. But for now, I may consider, if I see something that I like, may consider actually buying from that zone. So that is my analysis on the GBPUSD, analysis on also on the DXY and also Euro USD. Let me just delete that. So that is what we are having. Remember, I just told you, you trade what you see, not what you think, not what you make up in your mind. You just trade what you see. And right now, do not try to trade against the trend. Just trade with the trend. And the trend at the moment is bullish. Everything is bullish. So why the heck would you be looking for some bearish moves? Doesn't make any sense. So right now, let's just see whether we get that continuation move to the upside to form the next internal piece of structure. So what we are just waiting for is for the market to close above. If you can get the market to close above that, then that is a good sign that that bullishness has been maintained, and we are maintaining that. So at the moment, I'm just looking for bullish continuation moves until I'm proven otherwise. Just like I said on the Euro USD, until we see a situation where the market actually breaks below this internal protected low, then you should always continue looking for the buys, yeah? So let's move on to USDJPY. And this is what we are having on the USDJPY. I actually did send this setup on my free Telegram community. I did tell people once we tap into this zone, we should expect that move to the downside. I'm not in this move, and the simple reason why I'm not in this move, it's because my entry model has not been activated. You can just quickly go into the 15 minutes. What I love to see is the fact or is the situation where you see the CPY has actually, changed everything for me, because this was the fractal low. We saw the market actually breaking above it. And then once we broke above that fractal low, then all we are just waiting for is for the market to break above. Sorry, let me just repeat that. You see, with the CPI news is just how do I put it? It's just messed everything up for me for this setup, because right now all I'm just waiting for so the market to break and close below that low. Once we break and close below that low, all I'm just waiting for is for the market to return into an area of value. But anyway, let's just analyze this setup from a daily perspective. Sorry, not this setup, but this pair from a daily perspective. So what do we have? So we saw a situation where price actually broke to the downside, and the trend changed from bullish to bearish. So right now, price came into an area of value, and if we can just look at that, these are the sell to buy wicks. So like I did mention, they do form some very, very good zones to buy from, because if you move to the lower time frames, you're gonna see a clean order block to buy from. So I do trade from the sell to buy wicks. And as you can see, price came into to mitigate that sell to buy wicks. And as you can see from here, we got that nice reaction. Obviously, we should, or we can expect that from this order block, or we can expect from this order block, we may see a situation where we may get that reversal. Remember, we broke trend to the downside, and right now we're just waiting for that reversal into an area of value onto the main threshold of that. And probably the one thing that I should do is indicate that that is the daily low. Okay, the daily targeted low, and this is the daily protected high. Okay, so all we're just waiting for is for that reversal into the 50%. I like to trade up to the 50%, which is that demand supply order block. And then now from there, we can continue to look for the sales. So right now, we're just sandwiched, or prices is reacting, or prices are contained in between this daily demand order block and this daily supply sell to buy weeks, or sell or daily supply order block. So from here, one of the things that will tell me that this is a strong zone is if we get this demand to flip this supply over here. All right. If we can get a situation where this demand flips this supply, then I'm confident that we may continue to buy from that zone. Okay. Or I'm just looking for a setup to buy from this zone. But for now, I'm just looking for now the trend is bearish, and that is what I should be focused on. We are looking for bearish setups. As you can see, market has already tapped into that supply zone. So from here, we may see actually market coming all the way to the downside to mitigate these fair value gap, and also we do have that nice order block to trade from. So if we can go to the 1 hour, this is what we are having on the 1 hour. So this is what we are having. This is not a boss, but 1 hourly boss. So the 1 hour is quite interesting. The USDJPY 1 hour structure is quite interesting because as you can see, we tapped into that daily sell to buy wicks. And by the way, this is the refined. We can just show you. This is the refined sell to buy wick. Okay, with this being the high and this being the low. So this is just the refined, but our order block should be starting from there. So as you can see, price has already tapped into it, and once we tapped into that good zone, you can see the reaction that we are getting from here. Interestingly, the 1 hour swing trend has already changed from bearish. Remember, this was the sustained bearish outlook. So right now we changed trend to the upside. Okay, so we have changed the trend to the upside, stepping in or tapping into an area of value, the sell to buy wicks also that we saw on the daily, the buy to sell, sorry, wicks that we saw on the daily. So you can see the reaction that we are getting from there. But we trade what we see, not what we make, not what we make up in our minds. So as you can see, price has already tapped into that. We have already changed that trend from bearish to bullish. So right now, I can be confident trading the bullish setups. Okay, I can be very, very confident trading bullish setups. So I'm just waiting for price to come into an area of value. Of course, anything can happen. We may see price actually violating this order block, but of course we do have now the extreme order block, which would be this one right there. But it has already been mitigated, and also this has already been mitigated. So the only unmitigated zone would be this one. This is the last point that should hold. Okay, so it should be the last point that you to hold, and then now from here I can look for bullish continuation moves to the upside. And the reason why I'm looking for those bullish continuation moves is because of the fact that we broke structure to the upside. We should continue looking for bullish continuation moves to the upside until we get to the 50% of our daily range. That is how I trade, and that is how it's very, very simple, highly mechanical. One thing have to, if I'm just looking for a situation of if, then, okay? If this happen, then I do this. If this happen, then I do this, okay? So if that doesn't happen, then I'm not getting into any trades. So at the moment, we also do have these row resistance liquidity, okay, in form of a trend line. If we can just go to the 15 minutes, you will see that even the CPI candle respected it. So yeah, so we may see this should be acting as inducement for this zone, okay? That should be acting as inducement for that zone, and then now from here we can continue looking for those bullish continuation moves to the upside. Yeah, and I think that is it for this video. I know it's quite a long video. I'll appreciate it if you do give it a thumbs up. Yeah, and I'll see you for the weekly forecast video, which I'll drop probably on Saturday. So until then, keep it safe and bye bye.